Was Ravan truly evil? Why do we have temples of Ravan then?
People should know that Ravana was a Brahmana. He was the grandson of a rishi called Pulastya. So he was tutored in the Vedas. You can't even imagine. He was very well read in the Vedas. He could play the veena. He was a Vedic Pandit. He was the son of a Brahmana born to a Rakshasi mother. He was a devotee of Shiva. Very good administrator. Hanuman goes to the extent in Valmiki Ramayanam asking, is this a place I think my Rama will be able to win over? He wonders.
Ram and Ravan were best friends in the previous birth. It was said that in the following 12 births, Ram would kill Ravan.
Throughout the exile in the forest, Sita was in proper grand, designer clothes, and she was in jewelry. So this movie and serial depiction of she wearing that light beige color, wearing that Rudraksh, all that is not there.
There was a dosha in Sita and Ram's Kundali, which manifested in the form of separation.
That day when Rama was born, the constellation.
Where are the descendants of Luv and Kush? Are they still around?
See, when we look into the descendants of Rama, there is a mention in Ramayana, the list of kings who came after Rama. Lava, Kusha. The last of the kings mentioned is called this descendant of Rama, maybe 28th or 30th descendant of Rama. So every copper plate, every stone inscription will state that we are descendants of Rama.
An alumnus of BITS Pilani and an RAS fellow at the Indian Institute of Science, Dushyanth Sridhar is a popular television personality who has redefined the art of Harikatha, bringing the ancient with the modern to resonate with audiences of all ages.
You talk about the sibling connection, the brother-sister connection between Sita and Valmiki.
So they are siblings. That is why when she was pregnant, he intelligently leaves her very close to the ashramam of Valmiki. Valmiki was initially a dacoit. And Narada Maharishi says, you are going to incur a sin, papam, because of this. The termite hill is called a Valmikam in Sanskritam. So it is believed in the Vedas that for Mother Earth, the ant hills are her ears. Since he emerged from the Valmikam, he is called Valmiki. That's why when the Prana Pratishtha of Ram Lalla happened in Ayodhya on the 22nd of January 2024, and Lava and Kusha, when they were singing Ramayanam in front of Rama, they didn't realize that they were singing about their own parents in front of Rama. See the irony.
His eloquence in English combined with popular lingo and sharp wit make him one of the most dynamic storytellers we have today. With over 3,500 discourses across 23 countries, Dushyanth's insights on Sanatan Dharma attract millions of followers world over.
So what was Ram, Sita, Laxman's past life like? 18 secrets of the Ramayana. What are these 18 secrets?
Ramanuja happened to listen to the Ramayanam 18 times. So every time he would listen, he would jot down one rahasya. There are 2 shlokas that tell what the rahasyas are. Now circle the first letter of all these 1001, 2001 shlokas. When you put those letters together, you get the Gayatri Mantra.
Wow. Parvati told Shiva that if you chant Ram's name 3 times, it is equivalent to chanting Vishnu's name 1,000 times. Why is that the case?
So Shri Rama, Rama, Rama is 10, 10, 10. There were 2 mantras taught by Vishwamitra to Rama, which will not give them fatigue. They will never feel tired.
What was that mantra?
A recipient of numerous awards and an author of best-selling books Ramayanam and Vedanta Desika, he has studied under the revered acharyas, blending tradition with contemporary thought.
Do you think he must have molested or sexually abused Sita during that 1 year of Ashokvatika?
He had done this to women in the past, Vedavati, Rambha, Punjikasthala.
It is our pleasure to have with us on today's mythological episode of the Body to Being podcast for the very first time, Mr. Dushyanth Sridhar.
Ram and Sita lived happily ever after. लेकिन उसके बाद भी स्टोरी है, पिक्चर बाकी है मेरा दोस्त.
Namaskaram, Dushyanth.
Namaskaram, Shloka.
I'm so glad that you're doing your podcast debut on Body to Being. We've seen so much of you on television already.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be a part of your podcast. Hope we ensure that we give a lot of traditional knowledge to our audience.
up until now, I had a very basic understanding of what Ramayan was, which is the triumph of good over evil. But it was when I read your book, Ramayan, did I realize that it's not as black and white as it seems to be. There is so much introspection, there is so much worth reflecting. To begin with, I was astonished to find out that there are so many versions of the Ramayan. There is a Islam version where there are Muslim characters, a Philippines version, a version where Sita is the daughter of Ravan, Sita kills Ram in one. What are these versions and which is the correct version?
In our civilization, in Sanatana Dharma, there are various schools of philosophies. There is Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita. There are also different theologies. There is Vaishnavism, there is Shaivism, there is Shaktism. There are different Agamas, Puranas. It's a big library. So it's one tree with many branches, many leaves. What you see as one tree is from a distance. When you come closer, you see so many different ways to perceive it. That said, for us, traditionally, our acharyas have said, if at all we read the Ramayanam, the original version, which is a biography written during the times of Rama, at the same time being agreed by Rama, because it's his life history, he has to agree. It is Valmiki's Ramayanam. Kujantam Ramarameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam. Valmiki is that Kokila Pakshi that sings only Ramanamam. So Valmiki's Ramayanam is the one that has been sanctioned by Rama. The other Ramayanams are beautiful add-ons. You can do or not do with those add-ons. But if you don't read, it's not a big flaw or a blunder. But Valmiki's Ramayanam is the original.
Dashera is round the corner. I want to understand Ravan. I want to understand evil. I was again very, very shocked to hear that Ravan wrote some of the prose in Ayurveda, in pediatrics, a lot of other things that he did. Was Ravan truly evil?
See, nobody truly is evil. Nobody. There is a piece of divinity in every person. But how much does that person realize the divinity in him or her is a question. Technically, in Sanatana Dharma in Hinduism, you're not allowed to hate anyone. That person could be a Hindu, that person could be a Muslim, that person could be a Christian, that person could be a Sikh, that person could be a Jain, that person could be a Buddhist, that person could be a terrorist. Technically, you cannot hate. Philosophically. Why? Because we see that Paramatma is the Antaratma for everyone. There is no place in this world where Paramatma is not there. He has to be there.
Even in the evil.
Even in the evil, he has to be. See, for existence, for Satta mane in Sanskritam, for existence, you need Paramatma. There is not, that is why Prahlada Charitram is so important. He said, the father asked, where is Hari who's protecting you? The little boy said, Sarvatra asti sada asti. I cannot tell you one place, my dear father, where my Hari is not there. He's there within you and me. So, Trailokyameta dakhilam narasimha garbham. So, there's nothing called as purely evil. But through his demeanor, through his habits, he appeared evil. For example, people should know that Ravana was a Brahmana. He was the grandson of a rishi called Pulastya, the son of a rishi called Vishravas, but born to a Rakshasi mother. So his mother was a Rakshasi, father was a Brahmana. So he was tutored in the Vedas. You can't even imagine. He was very well read in the Vedas. He was extremely well read and he could play the veena, is what some versions of the Puranas say. He was a Vainika. He was a devotee of Shiva, because in Uttarakandam, Chachala Parvatendrasya is a shlokam. So he ends up shaking the Kailasha Parvatam, then Shiva gives him a lesson, and then he becomes a devotee of Shiva. So he's a Shiva Bhakta, Vainika, Vaidika, everything. And he was a very good administrator. See, the beauty is in Sundarakandam, when Hanuman enters Lanka in the late hours of the evening to meet up with Sita, he sees the well-guarded fortress of Lanka. In Tamil, it is called Mummadil. 3 fortresses, because you have waters around, then there are hills, and then there are forests. 3 layers of fortresses. Very well guarded fortress. Very good administrator. Hanuman goes to the extent in Valmiki Ramayanam asking, is this a place I think my Rama will be able to win over? He wonders. Because he was so well administered, very well laid street. Then what went wrong? Character was the worst. Charitra zerota. Before mishandling Sita, abducting Sita, he had played, molested, humiliated women. Vedavati is one example. Rambha is one example. Punjikasthala is an example. So there are various examples given in Valmiki's Ramayanam itself where he had a very dirty, very nasty past with women. And the last of the women whom he never knew will be the last, where he mishandled and abducted, was Sita. And after that, he saw his death.
Why do we have temples of Ravan then in our country? In South India, in Himachal Pradesh, in Kerala?
When there is a terrorist who attacks our parliament and there is a judgment given in the Supreme Court for the heinous crime that he has done, there will still be a handful of political leaders who will say that the terrorist is not a terrorist. So we will have a handful of people who will always want to oppose what the general public hold very close to their heart, or they may wantedly go against that particular notion. Temple for Ravana, that way even actress Kushbu had a temple in Trichy. So that doesn't make somebody a goddess. My point is, just because there are a few places, so-called places where there are statues for Ravana, it doesn't make him divine. What he did with women was wrong. But if you ask if Paramatma is Antaryami to Ravana, yes, he is. But because of his...
What would this mean, Paramatma is Antaryami to Ravan?
See, for example, we have a Jivatma within us. That's a belief in Sanatana Dharma. And there is an Antaryami within that. Antaryami is the one who controls from the within the Jivatma. So Paramatma stays one level under the Jivatma. But the question is, why did he let it happen? Paramatma is just as a witness. वो देख रहा है कि क्या ये लोग कर रहे हैं. He will not interfere. He gives us shastras. He gives us a guru. He gives us a life. It is in our hands how to use it. There is a small level of free will within that controlled life. And that free will decides what habits Shlloka or Dushyanth chooses. If we choose to molest other person, we choose to assault another person, we choose to rebuke another person, so be it, bear the consequences. So Ravana was that kind of a person. What Rama did to him was the right thing to be done.
So there is another popular perception which has rather been glorified is the Laxman Rekha, and Ramcharitamanas or Valmiki Ramayan doesn't have a mention of the Laxman Rekha. Is that true?
True. It's my opinion. I could be wrong. We Indians have been very fascinated by some VFX movies these days. So in the last 50-60 years, whenever you end up watching a serial or a movie that's related to the storyline of the Ramayana, Lakshmana will hold an arrow like this, recite or chant some mantra, draw a line, and then Ravana tries coming as a mendicant, as a sannyasi.
Yeah.
And then there's fire that blows up, and then Sita will do this and Ravan will do that. None of this happened in the Ramayana. We should not make a beautiful, realistic storyline given of Rama's life by Valmiki into a VFX movie. I am sure Rajamouli or Sanjay Leela Bhansali will do a very good job of it, but we don't have to. Because when Rama goes into the woods telling that I will fetch the deer for you, the gem-studded golden deer, he runs. That is when he shoots an arrow when he's confused as to who this deer could be. That is when Maricha shouts in the voice of Rama, Ha Sita! Ha Lakshmana! So when that cry comes, Sita is worried. So she tells Lakshmana, I sense that your brother is in danger. Go help him. That is when Lakshmana says, Mata, you have lived with my brother for 20 plus years. Don't you know he's Ajata Shatru? He's invincible. Don't worry, Mata. I can't leave you alone because I am there to protect you. I am like your son. That is when Sita says, you have to leave this place. There is a small argument between the two, but finally Lakshmana says, okay, I will leave. That is when he calls the deities in the forest, because they had recently met up with a vulture bird called Jatayu. And he says, Vanadevata, O deities who protect the forest, inclusive of birds and animals, I am leaving my mother-like sister-in-law here in the forest. Her husband is away. I'll be away. Please protect her. That's all. And he leaves. He doesn't take the arrow, draw one line, one square, triangle, kuch bhi nahi hua. Then he leaves. Then Ravana comes. He comes in the form of a sannyasi, a parivrajaka. He asks for bhiksha and she gives bhiksha, and then he kidnaps her with one hand on her thigh, the other hand rolled over her long hair. He holds the hair in one hand, one in the thigh, lifts her and takes her.
How does he take her? Like, what is the mode of transport? Or are they levitating?
We have a mention of Pushpaka Vimanam in Ramayana. When we depict it in architecture, or when we depict in sculptures, or when we depict it in, say, paintings, we show that as if it is a flying vehicle. Yeah. It does appear in certain shlokas that it flew, but there is one another opinion that it could have been a very fast driven chariot, because see, for example, compared to all the normal cars that we use Shloka, maybe a racing car can go like 220 miles. Ours will go about, and Bangalore, you can't even drive more than 20 kilometers per hour. So ours is actually a bullock cart. And literally racing cars are like planes. They go so fast. So he must have owned probably a chariot that went faster, much, much faster than others. So it was called a Vimanam, one example. Second is, see, Vimanam has other connotations. In Ayodhya Kandam, they mention of the word Vimanam in Ayodhya 3-4 times. And the commentators state Vimanam is a 7-storied building. A 7-layered building is called Vimanam in ancient architecture. So Vimanam, the word itself can be used in terms of a stationary building. Vimanam can be used as a flying vehicle. Vimanam could have also denoted the Ratham, the fast flying Ratham. So this is the way he could have taken her.
Do you think he must have molested or sexually abused Sita during that 1 year of Ashokvatika?
There is no mention of that because she took a blade of grass and placed it in between her and Ravana and said, I don't want to see you. So he couldn't proceed to her beyond a certain point. But when I say molesting, it is about even abducting a woman is also bad. Physically assaulting. How can you disrespect a woman that way? Abducting. You don't have to sexually abuse someone. Even abducting a woman, an individual, is bad. He had done this to women in the past. Vedavati, Rambha, Punjikasthala. So he had a very troubled past with respect to his character. So technically, if you ask, he is not evil because everyone has Paramatma. But if you look at the character of Ravana, very bad character. So he's not somebody where political parties should rally stating that somebody from the north came and vanished somebody in the south. No. He absolutely deserves no mercy for the way he treated women.
Also in your book, when I read, you talk about the sibling connection, the brother-sister connection between Sita and Valmiki. Very interesting. Can you please tell us about that?
Let's go to Sita first. In the beautiful Pradesham of Videha, with its capital, its Rajadhani being Mithila, there were kings. And interestingly, most kings of this particular city, this particular province, were extremely enlightened people. And they had the title called Janaka. So it was a title. The name of Sita's father was Siradhwaja Janaka. So Janaka will be a title, like a surname. Jaise ki, you have Sharma,
Jyotish.
So you have many Rao, Reddy.
Yeah.
So his name was Siradhwaja. He had a younger brother called as Kushadhwaja. He was ruling a place called Sankhyasya. Now, for a very long time, he didn't have children. And it was a norm in those days that you probably start feeling that you've committed a lot of papas, sins, in the accrued past. And to get rid of it, you do yagam, yajnam, havan. So through Atharvana Veda, he performed a yagam called as Putra Kameshti. Janaka performed Putra Kameshti. And he got inspired from a very neighboring king, Dasharatha, who did perform Putra Kameshti after Ashwamedham 6 years before him.
Okay.
That's how he had a son and sons called Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana. So, when something works for someone, you also want to try. Yeah. So Janaka did that. And towards the end of the yagam, it is always mentioned that you should do as much as possible dhanam and dharmam. You have to be charitable to people. You have to go to the downtrodden. You'll have to go to the people who are in destitution. Help as much as possible because charity is an exceptionally important part of dharma because through charity you can get rid of papas. So while he had to do it, he had to please the farmers, the krishikas. And he says, I will go plow the land, till the land. Because it was time for them to, sowing and all of that. When he tills the land using traditionally the 2 bulls and then there is a plow in between, that plow is caught to some rod and he sees a casket at a distance. Because that rod leads him to the casket and in that casket he sees an abandoned girl child. There's nobody around the girl child to claim that this is my child. And the child is a personification of flawless beauty. He sees that this is some divine call for him to take the child up. So Janaka, who has been tilling the land, seeing the girl child, picks the child up. There's not one person there who comes and says, this is my child. That is when there is this Purohita called Shatananda, the son of Ahalya and Gautama, who comes and says, see, you've done Putra Kameshti, you've done charity, you're tilling the land, and there is a girl child. Which means that somehow Mother Nature has answered your call for a child. Take this child as yours. Since this girl child was spotted on Mother Earth, people thought she's given by Mother Earth. See, most of our metals, for the example, you're wearing gold, silver, sabhi bhumi se hi aati hai. To hum bolte hain Vasudha, because she gives all forms of wealth. Even this child was given to him by Mother Earth. So she's treated treated as the daughter to Mother Earth. Treated. It doesn't mean Mother Earth was pregnant for 9 months. So she was spotted on Mother Earth.
Where did she come from?
She was spotted on Mother Earth. We don't know where she came from.
But you think she had biological parents?
We don't have any mention of it. So in such a scenario, we have a very beautiful term called ayonija. किसी योनि से उत्पन्न नहीं हुई होगी. पता नहीं कि कौन किस योनि से हुई. She's God's child or she's goddess herself. So she was spotted on Mother Earth. Bhumi, and since she was born from the tip of the plow, she is referred to as Sita, is finally treated as daughter of Mother Earth. Keep this aside. Now let's come to Valmiki. Valmiki was initially, as per our versions in the Puranas, especially Skandam, a dacoit. He was supposed to be a hunter, but when he couldn't help meet his ends meet, he turned to be a dacoit, a person who would steal things from the passers-by in the forest. He spots a beautiful veena with streaks of gold that is sported by the great Muni called Narada Maharishi. He catches him and Narada Maharishi says, see, this is my veena. I use this for venerating Bhagavan. Why do you want to hold me, catch this, take this? You are going to incur a sin, papam, because of this. Why do you want to do it? Then this dacoit asks, what is papam? Then he says, see, accrued karma that we do in the past births and in the current birth, iha janma and the past janmas. Then he says, see, you do all this. Why? To support your family. But trust me, your family will not partake in the sins that you have accrued. He says, no, my family is very good. He ends up asking his family members. The family members say, if you buy things, you bring possessions, we'll enjoy. We won't partake in your sins. Don't be under this wrong impression that we will have to partake in your sins. So that moment he knows that people are so selfish. So he comes back to Narada Maharishi and says, how do I do prayaschittam for what I have done till date? Penance. So that is when he says, think of the Rama Namam, the name of Rama, because Rama was popular even then. Because around the time when Valmiki was doing all this, Rama was born. See, when Rama was born is when this event was happening. Because Valmiki wrote the Ramayana when Rama was around 39 to 41 years of age. He wrote his biography at that point in time. So when Rama was born and given the name, and there was another Rama before this Shloka, there was Parashurama, Jamadagni's son. So the name Rama was not something new. So he was Rama. Since he was of Bhrigu he was called Bhargava Rama. Since he held the Parashu, the axe, he was called Parashurama. But his original name was Ram. So Rama Namam was there, and Rama was also re-given to Dasharatha's son. So Valmiki's Narada Maharshi tells this dacoit, we often know that his name is Ratnakara, that you take the name of Rama and ekagra chittam, with focus on that name, keep doing tapas. He gets so much involved in this namam that he starts doing tapas, and the termites build a huge hill over him because he stays like a log of wood, a piece of stone, unmoved, untouched. So the termites construct a hill. The termite hill is called a Valmikam in Sanskritam. And in Krishna Yajurveda, there is a Taitriya Aranyakam which says that Mother Earth, see, like how we say, I tell you something, what do I ask? Shloka, did you listen? Yeah. You say, yes, I did listen. So you say that my ears are working, I did listen. So it is believed in the Vedas that for Mother Earth, the ant hills are her ears. Valmikata Shravanato Vasudhatmanaste, Vasudha for Bhumi. For Mother Earth, it seems that the anthills that grow over her are her ears. So that's what the Vedam says. Now he arose from the Valmikam. He came from his mother's womb the first time. The second time he has come from the Valmikam. Since he emerged from the Valmikam, he is called Valmiki. So Valmiki Girisambhuta Ramasagara Gamini Punati Bhuvanam Punya Ramayana Mahanadi is a Prachina Shlokam. So this Valmiki got the name because of Valmikam, which is the ant hill, termite hill, and the termite hill or Valmikam is the year of Mother Earth. So in a way, he is born of Mother Earth. So he is treated as the son of Mother Earth, like how Sita is treated as the daughter of Mother Earth. So they are siblings in a way. That is why when she was pregnant and Rama realized that his nation and administration had to be flawless and he shouldn't bear the brunt, with a heavy heart he had to part ways with Sita. So Sita, the pregnant lady, is banished to the forest by Lakshmana, and he intelligently leaves her very close to the ashramam of Valmiki because he knew what the relationship was. So the moment Sita started being melancholic, started crying, Dekho, how is my life? I just had to undergo so much of ordeal because of the kidnap. Now I'm pregnant, people have banished me away. That is when Valmiki escorts her to his ashramam, and her entire gestation period and delivery and the nourishment and nurturing of her two children, Lava and Kusha, happens in Valmiki's ashramam. So Valmiki, the dutiful brother, was hospitable enough to nurse and to house his dear sister called Sita. So this is the relationship which is often not known, but very, very clear from the understanding of our Shastras, that Sita, regarded as the daughter of Mother Earth, Valmiki, who is regarded as the son of Mother Earth for having emerged from her years called Valmikam, are in a way, through emotion, brother and sister.
Where are the descendants of Luv and Kush? Are they still around?
See, when we look into the descendants of Rama, there is a mention in Ramayana, the list of kings who came after Rama, Lava,
Yeah.
Kusha, after that.
Yeah.
There is a mention of the list of people in Mahabharatam as well. महाभारत के भी अंतर्गत भी लिखा हुआ है कि राम के बाद कौन कौन आए थे, और वैसे ही पुराणों में, वायु पुराण में लिखा गया है कि कौन आया था राम के बाद. So there is a list. 95% the list tallies. There'll be one king extra here, one king less here. The last of the kings mentioned is called Brihad Bala. Va replaceable. Vidya Vidya. जैसे Brihad Bala. This Brihad Bala, that descendant of Rama, maybe 28th or 30th descendant of Rama, participated in the Mahabharata Yuddham along with Duryodhana. So when Duryodhana has an army, there is one person called Brihad Bala who is the 30th descendant from Rama. And I remember when I went to the city palace of Udaipur in Rajasthan, there is a beautiful Shila of Narayana, and below it says that this was worshipped by Kusha. You can see that in the city palace of... So yes, so we don't know if the descendants exist now, but one thing very interesting, Shloka. When kings write what all they have done, they say that I went to this kingdom, I won over this person, I fought this person, I gave 40 cows to this temple, I constructed... They will write all of that. This is found in inscriptions. This is found in stone inscriptions or copper plate inscriptions. Cholas, the kings of the south, who ruled for a very long time, very strong kings, Rajaraja Chola, Rajendra Chola, they all had naval fleets. The Chola kings, 1000 years back, in their copper plate inscriptions, when they begin writing, they say, we are the descendants of Rama. We are the Surya Vamshis. So every copper plate, every stone inscription of a Chola will state that we are descendants of Rama. Surya Vamshis.
So Cholas, which is south actually.
Yeah.
South of,
So Cholas did. That's why when Prana Pratishtha of Ram Lalla happened in Ayodhya on the 22nd of January 2024, I think 12 days before that, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji, visited the largest functioning temple of India called Sri Rangam in Tamil Nadu. That was there all across news. You can go check. Why did he visit? Because the Kula Dhanam, see, I'm sure every family will have a family deity, Kul Devta. That Kul Devta of the kings of Ayodhya was the reclining posture of Swami. And after Rama Pattabhishekam happens, Rama hands over this to Vibhishana. He gives that Kul Devta to Vibhishana. Vibhishana says, give me. Rama, being the very generous person, Aradhaya Jagannatham Ikshvaku Kula Devatam, Labdhva Kuladhanam Raja, says Ramayanam. After obtaining that Kuladhanam, on his way to Lanka, Vibhishana installs this in an island in the Kaveri river that is called Srirangam. So
Srirangapatnam?
Srirangapatnam is Karnataka.
Yeah.
Srirangam in Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
It's the largest functioning temple. What Rama does is he gives his Kuladhanam to the south. That is why before doing the Prana Pratishtha of Rama, Modi ji came to the Kula Devta of Rama in Srirangam in Tamil Nadu. Now you see the Chola connection.
Yeah. Okay.
See, when we get into history and our civilization, every moment will be an awe moment.
Absolutely, yeah. What happens to Sita and Ram after that? Because in popular culture, we know the happily ever after, but it's not quite so the case.
You know, to get rid of this notion, some scholars say that Uttarakhand nahi hua. Uttarakhand galat hai.
Uttarakhand is after Ayodhya.
Ayodhya. After Pattabhishek. After they come back from...
After Diwali, basically.
No, there's a problem there. I'll tell you about the Diwali.
Okay.
So after Rama has won over Ravana and he fetches Sita back, the Pattabhishekam happens, is where Uttarakhandam begins. Many scholars, I wouldn't say many, a handful of scholars, so-called researchers, they find it very tough to accept that Sita was pregnant and she was sent to the forest by Rama.
Yeah.
So what they will do is, ये उत्तरकांड वाल्मीकि ही नहीं लिखे थे, किसी और ने लिखा. They will say. That's what they say. But that's not the thing. Our acharyas have agreed that Uttarakandam is an integral part of the Ramayana. Pregnant Sita being sent to the forest, Shambhuka being killed, whether you like it or not, all that happened. Now the question is, till Pattabhishek, Ram and Sita lived happily ever after. You can always say the end, Shubh, ho gaya. लेकिन उसके बाद भी story है, picture बाकी है मेरा दोस्त. So that is when she's pregnant, she's sent to the forest. Then Rama was also equally hurt. For him, Dharma Atita, says Narayana, Nambudri, Bhattatri. He says that Rama was so much attached to rules that he was, even by sacrificing his own personal life, he wanted to attach himself to rules. See, by sending Sita, he's not going to lead a happy life. Yeah. But why did he do that? Because he was so very stickler to rules. He said, this is a rule I have to follow. I cannot say that I am the king, there's a different rule for me. But he was extremely hurt. Sita went to the ashram of Valmiki that we discussed. She delivered Lava and Kusha. Later, Ashwamedha Yajnam was performed by Rama. Then these Lava and Kusha end up singing Ramayanam in front of Rama. Rama later comes to know that they are his own children. Yeah. Then he ends up meeting Sita. Then Sita says, I can't take any more tests of this Agni Pariksha, that Agni Pariksha. I'm leaving, and she gets back. She either goes into the woods or she goes back to Mother Earth. So the way Ramayanam ends, it's not on a very happy note the way we want to see it. Rama, he handholds his children Lava and Kusha into administration, makes them the future heirs, the Yuvarajas of Ayodhya, and then he gets into the waters of Sarayu. Jala Samadhi he does. He goes into the waters and reaches Vaikuntham. Sita has already either gone into the woods or gone into Mother Earth. So there is nothing like, okay, they were together and then they saw Lava and Kusha producing children. They took their grandchildren to school and Montessori. Aisa kuch nahi hai. That's how Ramayana ends.
There are so many narratives on the Ramayana out there. I want you to tell us about some unexplored themes or facets of Ramayana that people don't know of.
When Rama has been ordained to go to Dandakaranyam, the forests of Dandaka, for 14 years, Kaikeyi does ask this to Dasharatha, and Dasharatha unwillingly has to grant it. So he has to summon Rama, and Kaikeyi tells this of her own. She says that your father has wanted you to go to the forest for 14 years. Rama decides to leave because, being the obedient son, Pitrivakya Paripalana Ram, he says, I will leave. He goes, informs to his mother, Kaushalya. Naturally, obviously, she's upset, she laments. Then he goes to the Antavpuram of Sita and says, Sita, I'm leaving. And then Sita has an altercation with Rama, stating that, see, I want to come with you. And then he gives a volley of reasons, stating that, okay, forest will have this problem, that problem. And then finally Rama succumbs. He says, okay, you also join me. And then comes Lakshmana. That's another add-on. 1 plus 1 plus 1 ho gaya abhi. 3. So he comes and says that, see, I have to serve the both of you. That's my dharma. And I will join. Now the beauty is, when the three of them have to take permission from their father, which is Dasharatha, when they go to the Antavpuram of Dasharatha, Dasharatha is lying on the ground. That is when Valkalam is given to Rama. Valkalam is that dress which is made from the bark of a tree. And that's between beige to brown to those colors, so that you get camouflaged in the forest. It won't be bright colors.
Correct.
And when you're supposed to go to the forest, however, whatever you are, you're supposed to live like a hermit. So Rama is asked to drape himself with the Valkalam. Rama and Lakshmana do it. And there is one set of Valkalam which is given to Sita as well. Sita tries to drape in that Valkalam because Valkalam is not that soft material, like for example what you're wearing, what I wear. It's going to be very hard. Being a very sensitive Rani, Rajakumari, she says, I'm finding it tough. So there is one shloka in Srimad Ramayanam where Rama goes and helps. So at that point in time, it is said, looking at Sita suffering, finding it tough to drape in that Valkalam, the 350 wives of Dasharatha cried, says Valmiki. First, we had 350. Second, see, traditionally in an Indian household, when the daughter-in-law comes home, it is as if Sakshat Mahalakshmi is coming. And you see her as a beacon of hope, prosperity and all of it. And today, in front of your eyes, because of one hasty decision made by the man, you see your own daughter-in-law, who is supposed to be in the best of clothes, now struggling to wear Valkalam. So they couldn't stand their daughter-in-law do it. At that point in time, Dasharatha says, See, I don't want my daughter-in-law to suffer because of some decision that I have made or what my wife has asked. If at all she is agreeing to accompany Rama to the forest for all the 14 years, Lakshmana, I hereby command you. She should be wearing silk clothes and she should be draped in good ornaments. She should be adorning good ornaments. So he says, Asankhyan. Don't even restrict it to, 3 or 4 saris. But there should be no repetition, asankhyan. So throughout the exile in the forest, Sita was in proper grand, designer, whatever clothes, and she was in jewelry. So this movie and serial depiction of she wearing that light beige color, wearing that rudraksh, all that is not
saffron
there.
color.
Only Rama and Lakshmana were in Valkalam. Other point, 4 sons of Dasharatha. गीर्वाणैर अर्थ्यमानो दशमुखनिधनं कोसलेश वृष्य शृंगे पुत्रीयाम इष्टिमिष्ट्वा ददुषि दशरथक्ष्माभृते पायसाग्र्यं तद्भुक्त्वा तत्पुरन्ध्रीष्वपि त्रिषु सुसमं जातगर्भासु जातो रामस्त्वं लक्ष्मणेन स्वयं अथ भरतेनापि शत्रुघ्न नाम्ना, says Narayana Bhattatri in the 16th century. He says the 4 children, such good fraternity, brotherhood. See, in contrast, Mahabharatam is all about real estate fight between the 2 brothers.
Yes.
Here it's all about, okay, if Bhaiya is not ruling, I will also not rule. Aisa hai.
Yeah.
Now, those 4 brothers were so attached. The beauty is, when Rama was married, he was 12. So were his brothers. They lived 12 years happily in Ayodhya post their marriage. So Rama was 24 and was about to begin his 25th year when he was asked to go to the forest. But the beauty is, when Rama lived in Ayodhya for the last 12 years, it was Lakshmana who lived with him with their respective wives, and Bharata and Shatrughna with their wives were in Kekeya, the current day Jalalabad region atop Afghanistan. That's called Kekeya. So 12 years they were there. Now when Dasharatha decided to coronate, to do Pattabhishekam for Rama, he calls his most trusted aide, charioteer, come minister, come a very wise person called Sumantra, and says, Sumantra, make arrangements for Rama's coronation to be done. The nakshatra of Pushya is coming very soon, to hame karna hai. That time Sumantra is a bit shocked because his other 2 sons are elsewhere. See, when you do a family function, you want all your children to be there. But Dasharatha says, Kintu chittam manushyanam anityamiti me matam. Sumantra, the mind of humans is very fickle-minded. You don't know how it will change, when it will change. So it's better we rush through for Rama's Pattabhishekam. Why did he do that? This question is not clearly answered in the chapters of Ayodhya Kandam, but there is one place, there is a mention that when Dasharatha had to marry Ashwapati's daughter, who's Kaikeyi of the Kekeya region, there was a memorandum of understanding, an MOU signed with the parents of Kaikeyi. There could be many wives to me. There may be many wives to me in the future. Your daughter could be one. But I assure, I promise, I vow that the child born to us will become the Yuvaraja of Ayodhya. He had promised. So that is why, but after Rama was born and Dasharatha was extremely attached to Rama. Every parent is. But after a very long time when the child is born, there is an extra layer of protection and cover that the parents give, and he was extremely fond of Rama. So he wanted to see the eldest of his sons becoming the king. And that was the norm. See, in those days, the eldest child will become the king. But he had to bypass this boon. So he did not want Bharata to be in town. What if Bharata was told by his grandfather or grandmother that you will become the king? So he was doubting his son. If Bharata would come and say, see, you have made a promise. Look at this agreement. I have a copy of it. Bana do mujhe Raja. So he didn't open his mouth. So that is why he wanted the Pattabhishekam to happen in his absence. But there's another point. The beauty is, as a king, whether he likes it or not, he has promised that Bharata, the child born to Kaikeyi, will become the king. Why did he bypass it? Because there is one Shastric rule. Vivahakale ratisam prayoge is that rule. For the sake of marriage, if one vows or promises something, there is no condition that the person has to fulfill that promise. That's a Shastric statement. Vivahakale ratisam prayoge. There are 5 occasions where if you commit, or if you commit yourself to something, or if you promise, there is no compulsion. So Dasharatha was off that apacharam, of that papa, by using this Shastric rule. But he somehow wanted to bypass Bharata. He thought, okay, there is a rule where I don't have to adhere to it. I don't have to keep up my promise. What if Bharata still persists? That is why he said, Kintu chittam manushyanam anityamiti memitam. Let the pattabhishekam for Rama happen in Bharata's absence.
Also, one theme that runs across, I think, most of our mythologies, including the Ramayana, is preference for a male child. Why do you think that was the case, given that, these scriptures are indicative of an ideal society? Why do you think that is the case?
At the outset, while everybody is free to use the terminology, for me, Ramayanam and Mahabharatam is the history of our land. So I wouldn't want to call it a myth or a mythology for that matter. And with respect to your valid question as to why should the parents always desire
Correct.
a male child.
Yeah.
Maybe only those portions where they desire male child is amplified. I'll give you another alternate example. When Dasharatha performed Putrakameshti, he had Rama. Whereas when Janaka performed Putrakameshti, he had Sita.
Yeah.
When Drupada Maharaja in Mahabharatam performed Putrakameshti, he had a son called Drishtadyumna and a daughter called Draupadi. So there was a son and a daughter. And if you come into the Sthala Puranam, in the city of Madurai in Tamil Nadu, Malayadhvaja Pandya, along with his wife Kanchanamala, they performed Putrakameshti and had a daughter who's Parvati incarnate called Meenakshi. And then there were queens like Rudramma Devi in the Kakatiya dynasty. So I would rather put it this way. Yes, in certain instances of the Puranas, it may seem that it was slightly tending towards being more patriarchal. But on the other hand, certain other incidents do give us a fact that there was equal importance given. See, for example, the daughter is known through her father, Draupadi, because she was Drupada Nandini. Son of the father Dasharatha is Dasharathi. The son of Anjana Devi is Anjaneya. So he is also known by his mother. So we have an example of a daughter being known by the father, son being known by the mother's name. One. And in our Shastram Shloka, it is said, between the husband and wife, whatever activities they do, half of the punya what the husband does will go to the wife. Half of the papam whatever the wife does will go to the husband, not the vice versa. So husband ka paap wife ko nahi jayega. Wife ka punya husband ko nahi jayega. So the match is always 150 is to 50. Woman is always on a better footing. And between the mother and father, when we do pind pradhan, जैसे कि हमारे संस्कृति में होता है, संस्कार में होता है ना, पिंड दान करना. And there's an important kshetram called Gaya in Bihar. So people throng to Gaya. Remember, for the mother, it is the maximum number of pindams. Not even half of it is for the father. You have to give the maximum number of pindams for your mother. And between the mother and father, there's a great Maharshi called Apastamba who states, you have to take care of your parents. Whether you're a daughter or a son, you have to take care of your parents. In case the father is a man of poor character or bad character, kick him out. But if your mother is a woman of bad character, even then you will have to protect her because there is no equivalent to the mother. Mate tyeke, mate tyeke. So Shastra Vakyam does support mother. Between the husband and wife, the wife is always at an advantage. But there are certain instances when it comes to ruling and administering where the male gets more prominence.
Or the last rites, performing the last rites.
Performing the last rites, yeah. That's because all of this is attached to one concept called the Vedas. The Vedadhyayan, जो अध्ययन करते हैं वेद का, प्राचीन काल में, even now, traditional mutts agree that only men should learn the Vedas. The women can learn the meaning of the Vedas. So men learn the mantras. The meaning of the mantras, both men and women can learn. And the reason why women could not learn is generally attributed to the body structure, because Vedic mantras deserve a lot of energy. And the woman, it was believed traditionally that a woman at one point in time will carry a child. So her garbham is very important, unlike for a man where there's nothing called a uterus. So she has to very much take care of it. And Vedam is Nabhi Hritkantharasana. It has to come from the Nabhi. It cannot come from here. So that was generally discouraged. So women were allowed to learn the meaning of the Vedas, where you don't have to chant. You just have to learn. So when you don't learn the Vedas, then you cannot perform yagam. You can only support the one who's performed. Yajna. Jo bhi yajna karta hai. Since the woman is not learning the Vedam, she cannot perform. But without the women, you cannot complete the yajna. That is why only a married man can perform the yajna. A widower can't perform, nor can a brahmachari perform. A brahmachari can maximum perform only samita danam. Whereas a married man is only allowed to perform agnihotram and yagam, and that too not the married man who becomes a widower. The wife should be alive and she should be holding the darbha grass next to him. So to complete the yajna, the wife is required. So wife was allowed to learn, the lady was allowed to learn the meaning of the Vedas. Her presence was extremely important to complete the yagam. But the one who learns the Vedas and who performs the yagam is the male. So thereby he would be given the preference to rule. But there were very rare exceptions where the queen, for example, Meenakshi who ruled Madurai, and Rudramma Devi of the Kakatiya dynasty, and Paduka Devi, that's another interesting thing. See, in Sanskritam we offer gender not only for men or women, even for objects. जैसे कि पादुका, राम का जो पादुका है, पादुका is स्त्रीलिंगम. So she is called Paduka Devi. So in the list of male kings who ruled Ayodhya, Ikshvaku, Mandhata, Dilipa, Asamanjas, Amshuman, Sagara, Raghu, Ajay, Dasharatha, Rama, Lava, Kusha, came one lady called Paduka Devi. For 14 years when Rama was on exile, Bharata did not rule. He said, I will not rule Ayodhya. Lakshmana did not rule. Rama did not rule. Who ruled? Bharata placed the Padukas of Rama on the throne of Ayodhya and said, Maharani, with your grace, I will just be the executor. So Bharata administered, but the position was Paduka Devi. That is why I would say in my lectures, see, when men ruled, you can find faults. Dasharatha, though he was a great king, he succumbed to his wife Kaikai. Rama banished his wife Sita into the forest. But here is Paduka Devi who ruled Ayodhya, not one scam, not one scandal. So, though she was an exception, that was exemplary of her.
There was a dosha in Sita and Ram's Kundali, which manifested in the form of separation, which was, I think, about twice or thrice during the course of their marriage.
What happens during the birth of Rama is, we are told, ततश्च द्वादशे मासे चैत्रे नावमिके तिथौ नक्षत्रे अदिति दैवत्ये स्वोच्च संस्थेषु पंचसु ग्रहेषु कर्कटे लग्ने वाक्पता विन्दुना सह. These are the verses in Ramayana of Valmiki.
Yeah.
Tatascha dvadashe mase, later after 12 months. So if you put all these details that Valmiki gives into a kundli, we call it Jatakam in the south of India, kundli in the north of India. If you put that and see the planetary positions, we see Panchasu, there are 5 grahas at the exalted state. So in a Jyotisha Shastram, for many of them it will be 1 graha, 1 for some 2, for some 3, for some even 4. Very rarely you get 5 grahas at the exalted state. So Jyotisha Shastram says for the one where 5 grahas are the exalted state, he becomes a world leader. Panchauche Lokanayakaha is the Shastram. 5 grahas at the exalted state, you become a world leader. And alongside, he says, Vakpata Vinduna Saha. So in a Jatakam, in Kundli, there is something called Lagnam. Lagna se hum ginte hain. Ram ke Lagna mein 2 grah the, Chandra और बृहस्पति माने गुरु. वाक्पता विंदुना सह. Indu is Chandra, Vakpati is Brihaspati. 2 of them are there in the same house. In such a scenario, there is a dosha called Kemadruma Yogam that comes. In such occasions, you see that the man and the wife will undergo a separation. But the beauty is, Rama escaped that Kemadruma Yoga because of the presence of a graha, if I am right, in the 12th position of his Jatakam. So he escaped that dosham, but there will be a small effect of it. See, at times, how do I say it? See, a person is affected with COVID. You can't expect people in the house, all of them to be affected by COVID just because one. Just because one is infected, the other person need not be. But they will see some traces of it. What they will do is they will be sneezing or there will be some effect. So Rama escaped Kemadruma Yogam because of the position of a graha in the 12th house. But that inertia, that little effect of Kemadruma Yogam cost him, because in the 14th year of their exile, she was abducted. After 2 years of Pattabhishekam, when she was pregnant, she was banished to the forest.
Correct.
Later, when he ends up having a family reunion with his wife and 2 children, again she goes back. So there is always on and off separation. So it's not permanent separation, but there's on and off. That is indicated in the Jatakam. See, the beauty is Valmiki just gives the positions of the grahas. He doesn't predict what will happen. But the commentators who have written, 6 commentators in Sanskritam to Valmiki's Ramayana, they mention in their commentary what is Rama's Jatakam look like and what are the effects of it.
You also talk about the 18 rahasyas or the 18 secrets of the Ramayana. What are these 18 secrets?
1,000 years back, Okay, let me go this way. There's one shloka called Vaidehi Sahitam Suradrumatale Haime Mahamandape Madhye Pushpakamasane Manimaye Virasane Susthitam Agre Vachayati Prabhanjana Sute Tattvam Munibhyaf Param Vyakhyamtam Bharadadivih Parivritam Ramam Bhaje Shyamalam. It talks about how grand the mandapam is, where on a golden throne is seated Rama with Sita, with the umbrella being held by Bharata. Lakshmana and Shatrughna are doing Chamara Kainkaryam. They fan the couple. And then there are rishis seated in front of them. The verse gives a cryptic word. Tattvam munibhyaf param. The munis, the munigण जो आजू बाजू में बैठे थे, वे लोग तत्वम मुनिभ्यः परम, they were internalizing a certain tattva. They were ruminating on something. What they were ruminating, we do not know. So the verse gives a description and tells that they were ruminating. So it is said that they were trying to analyze if there are some secrets in the Ramayana, in Rama's life history. And that, whatever they deciphered, they passed it on one generation after the other. You know, something very similar to the Da Vinci Code Priory of Science. Kuch aisa secret school chal raha tha. 1000 years back in the south of India came a great acharya called Ramanujacharya. He went to the foothills of Tirumala Tirupati so that he could learn Ramayanam from his maternal uncle called Sri Shaila Purna. And the maternal uncle used to serve the temple, come down the hill, teach Ramanuja, his nephew, every day, and would go back like this for 360 days in a year. So in 1 year, Ramanuja happened to listen to the Ramayanam with its intricate esoteric meanings 18 times. So every time he would listen, he would jot down one rahasya. So 18 times he listened, he jotted down one rahasya. There are 2 shlokas that tell what the rahasyas are. Just one rahasya I'll tell you now.
The biggest one?
Biggest nahi ho sakta, acha wala. We know Gayatri mantra. Gayatri is a mantra that any mantra that has 24 aksharas with 3 padas, 8 aksharas in every padam is called Gayatri. इट्स अ मीटर. एक छंदस का नाम है गायत्री, और हर एक देवता का एक मंत्र होता है गायत्री मंत्र, जैसे कि विष्णु गायत्री, लक्ष्मी गायत्री, हनुमत गायत्री. सो वो गायत्री छंद से हर एक देवता का एक मंत्र होता है. सूर्य को जब हम बोलते हैं, वी लुक एट सन एवरी मॉर्निंग एवरी इवनिंग, उसका नाम है सूर्य गायत्री. Surya Gayatri is generally known as Gayatri. So we say Tat Saviturva, that is Surya Gayatri. So there are 24 aksharas. See, a mantra cannot be told in the public. So I'll just tell you that there are 24 aksharas. Tat Saviturva Reniyam, like that. The beauty is, Ramayanam has 24,000 verses. So there is verse 1 to verse 1000, verse 1001 to verse 2000, verse 2001 to verse 3000. Abhi aap kya kijiye when you have time? Take the verse 1, 1001, 2001, 3001, 4001, like that you will get till 23,001. Correct. Now circle the first letter of all these 2001, 2001 shlokas. When you put those letters together, you get the Gayatri mantra. See, for example, how does a Gayatri mantra begin? Tat Saviturva Renyam. It is not Bhurbhuvas. Bhurbhuvasvaha is a Vyavriti, it's an introduction. So the mantra begins with Tat Saviturva Renyam. Tat. Ta. So the first verse number 1 of Ramayanam is Tapaswadhyaya Niratam. Sarvan Rakshasan Hatva. That is the second 1001th shloka. Sa. Vishwamitram idam shrutva. Vi. Tat sa vi. Tur. So you get it in the same order. So Gayatri mantram has been coded by Valmiki. Gayatri mantra is, just now I told you, recited for which devata? Surya. Ram comes in which vamsha? Surya vamsha. So for Surya Vamsha, Surya is the progenitor. For Surya, it is Gayatri. So Ramayanam of Rama who comes in Surya Vamsha will have Surya Gayatri. So this is one rahasya.
I also wanted to understand that there was this excerpt where it was said that Parvati told Shiva that if you chant Ram's name 3 times, it is equivalent to chanting Vishnu's name 1,000 times. Why is that the case? Is Ram's name more consecrated or more energized than Vishnu's name?
In the chronology of events that have happened in Sanatana Dharma, we have Ramayanam happening first. And post the Ramayana, we get Mahabharatam. So in Ramayana's time is where we see Rama living his life history. And then during the Mahabharata times is where we see the Pancha Pandavas, Draupadi, Krishna, Balarama, and so on and so forth. So the chronology is Rama and later Krishna. Now in Krishnavataram, during Krishnavataram, in the Mahabharata Yuddham, when the Pandavas have won, finally, Dharmam has won. Then when Bhishma is lying on the bed of arrows, that is when Yudhishthira goes and he asks a series of questions. He says, Kimekam Daivatam Loke, किं वाप्येकं परायणं स्तुवन्तः कं कमर्चन्तः प्राप्नुयुर्मानवाः शुभं को धर्मः सर्वधर्माणां भवतः परमो मतः किं जपन्मुच्यते जन्तुर्जन्म संसार बन्धनात्. He asks a series of 6 questions. It's called Shat Prashni. And lying on the bed of arrows where blood is just oozing from every aperture, Bhishma feels it is his moral duty to answer to those 6 questions, and he starts answering. As he answers these 6 questions of Yudhishthira, posed by Yudhishthira, comes the compendium of 1,000 namas called Vishnu Sahasra Nama. Now this 1,000 names, Bhishma says, Rishibhiv Parigitani. Yudhishthira, don't think that I've invented these names. ये सभी नाम जो मैं बोल रहा हूं ना, कभी कभार किसी ऋषि ने बोला होगा. I have collated all those namas which have been found and used by Maharishis, and I'm presenting it to you. It's like a bouquet. Now, these set of 1,000 names are beautiful. There is a Purvangam, there's an Uttarangam. Extremely beneficial because Parashara Hora Shastra says that when people are afflicted with fevers, besides the medicine that the doctor administers, recite Vishnu Sahasranamam thrice. That is your medicine. Samhita says, in Kadambari, you should know that there was a beautiful novel written 1,300, 400 years back by a great person called Bana Bhatta. So in Sanskritam, it's a grand novel. And in that novel, he describes every place. He describes a Sutika Griham, where the labor ward is, where women deliver. While describing that, he says there are a group of pandits in the corner of the room incessantly reciting Vishnu Sahasranamam to aid the women deliver naturally. So there is a mention of Bana Bhatta who says, so Vishnu Sahasranamam is a panacea to various problems. That said, Parvati is said to have asked Shiva, see, this compendium of 1,000 names on Narayana is beautiful. But what about commoners? People, all of them may not be adept in Sanskritam. They may not have the time. So give us a solution which is short, sweet, and imbibes the essence of all of this in it. So she says, Kenopayena laghuna Vishnor nama sahasrakam pathyate pandite nityam shrotumichhamyaham prabho. I wish to hear a shorter way which commoners can also recite. It should not be applicable. See, one thing that we give should not be applicable only for the enlightened, very intelligent people. Commoners, what will they do? Lord Shiva, Bhagavan Shiva, he closes his eyes and he says, Shri Rama Rama Rameti. Shri Rama 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 iti Rame Rame Manorame Manorame. You are beautiful. Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Look at your face. First, he has to end up praising the person who's asking questions. He says, Parvati, your face looks like newly blossomed lotus. Sunlo, Java. Sahasranama Tat Tulyam. There is one equivalent to the Sahasranama. What is it? Shri Rama 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 iti. Recite Ramanamam thrice. Why? Because in Sanskritam, every language is beautiful. Kannada is beautiful, Tamil is beautiful, Telugu is beautiful. There is nothing called as this is a grade 1 language, this is a grade 2 language. सभी language तो beautiful है. लेकिन संस्कृत का एक speciality है. हर एक अक्षर जो है, उसका एक अंक होता है. There is one संख्या given to it. It's called Katapayadi संख्या. Ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Ta, ta, da. Like that you give numbers. So Rama, Ra is 2, Ma is 5. 2 into 5, 10. Rama, 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 10, 10, 10. 10 into 10 into 10, 1,000. So Sahasranama Tattulyam. So in those days when mathematicians in Bharatadesham used to operate, they never had a codification of the formula. They will always give it to you in the form of a shloka. So your name is very special that way. So our acharyas were great mathematicians. It is not that they flunked in academics and they ended up writing shlokas. They were extremely diligent, extremely intelligent. So they had a way of codifying. So Shri Rama, Rama, Rama is 10, 10, 10. So it is a gunam. In Sanskritam, gunam also means multiplication. So 10 into 10 into 10, 10 power 3 is 1,000. So Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. So what it means is recite Vishnu Sahasranama. But on days where you have lots of work, there's absolutely no time. Just say Ram Nam Lo. Ram, Ram, Ram. That's all. 1,000 ho gaya. But this shortcut should not become your general rule.
Since we talk about technology, what are some of the other technologies that were used then? Also, was Ramayana more futuristic given that there were so many, sophisticated weaponaries or astras and, these kind of technologies?
So, I wouldn't want to give it a very modern connotation stating that what you see as a sonic missile is what is that. I don't want
Okay.
to literally compare. But when we look at the Ramayana as a work, we see that there are certain things that make us quite surprising. Because, see, for example, Balam, Atibalam, Tata, even there were two mantras taught by Vishwamitra to Rama, Bala and Atibala, which will not give them fatigue. They will never feel tired.
What was that mantra?
That was called Bala and Atibala.
That's it.
That's all. So we have a mention of it in the Vedas. It needs a lot of prayogam, but there is a clear mention Balam, Atibalam, Tatha, Bala and Atibala. And then we have one particular astram called Shabdavedi, which his father Dasharatha deployed as well as Rama deployed. Shabdavedi is where you don't exactly see your target through your eyes, but you want to attack the target.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Through Shabdam. Through the sonic waves, through the sound that comes. See, when Dasharatha went on hunting, he didn't spot the elephants. But the moment he heard the sound of waters, he thought there could be elephants and shot an arrow that will go behind the sonic sound, from the sound where it comes and hits the target. It's called Shabdavedi. Then there is another mention of something called Aishikam. Dhanurvidya is a technique where you convert any object that you see around into an astram. You don't have to necessarily go search for an arrow. In situations where you can't spot an arrow close by, you can convert any object into an astram. For example, when a crow attacked Sita and Rama was lying with his head on her lap, that crow came and pecked many times on Sita's bosom and blood started oozing. This comes in Chitrakuta.
Okay.
So she starts trembling. And Rama senses something is wrong. He opens his eyes. He sees that she's drenched in blood. He sees the crow seated on the branch of a tree with blood dripping from its beak. He doesn't ask Lakshmana, go fetch my bow, my quiver of arrows. He takes one blade of grass, he does the mantram of Brahmastram and converts the darbha into an astram. That's called Aishikam, Darbhastarana. So, but I feel that the most of the people who have gathered this Aishikam today are the parliamentarians because they will convert the book that they get, mic, anything into an astram. So they have mastered the art of Aishikam. But yes, this is one. See, even when we look into the architecture, why go that far to Ramayana? When we look at Hoysala architecture in Karnataka, Vijayanagara, Nayaka architecture in Andhra, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, Chola architecture in Tamil Nadu, when you even look at those sculptures, you'll wonder how did they even chisel?
Yeah.
Today we have electricity, we have drilling machine, boring machine, all of that, and you have master cranes that lift huge rocks. How did they do that? So they must have had some very precise instruments that would have helped them measure. There's no doubt. But I'm not sure if we have a mention of those instruments today. But Ramayana very clearly talks about chariots, bows, arrows, mantras, and shooting based on sonic waves and all of that. So it does seem that there was some kind of science that our rishis had mastered, which for that period of time they presented to in the form of how we see in the Ramayana. I cannot say that is this. आज जो हम बोल रहे हैं वो ही था. मैं वो नहीं बोल सकता. But there is very clear mention of all of this there. So there must have been some understanding, very good understanding of science. For example, even medicine, Ayurveda. Because when Rama leaves for the forest, his mother, she says, come here Rama. She puts in a ring of Santanakarani and Vishalyakarani. There are two herbs found even today. When you use them, you can ward off the poison emanating from the leaves in the forest. Because when you go in the forest, leaves will hit you. You may get allergy. So when you sport that, so there was some kind of a prevention that was available. So all this is there.
Also, technology, I think, when I listen to you, it seems like it was more sophisticated than it was today, because I remember going to this temple in South India. I think it was the water temple, and the entire temple in Tamil Nadu, that particular temple has been carved out of a single stone, a single piece of stone, which is not going to be possible in today's time unless you use, like very high-end sophisticated tools.
See, I do not know if I can come to a conclusion that they were much better than what we are today. Okay. We do have the aid of better technology today. There's no doubt. Yeah. Things have been made simple. But I would say with whatever was available for them at that point in time, they have done wonders. See, for example, when we construct a house, we first dig, we put the foundation, ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor. ऐसे ही करते हैं. Let's take this Rashtrakuta piece of beauty called the Kailashanatha temple in Ellora. Okay. in Maharashtra. It is a monolith temple. See, the temple itself is monolith.
Wow.
And the beauty is, Shloka, they have not gone from the bottom. They have seen a huge rock. They have started chiseling and carving from the top. See, you don't know what you're going to end up. But from the Shikhara, they come all the way to the basement. And it's a monolith. And in such cases, you cannot afford to make a mistake. See, it's not like, in a Word document, you put backspace, delete, cut, copy, paste. कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं. एक mistake हो गया तो हो गया. So that way, I'll tell you, with whatever they had then, whatever technology or science they have had then, they have utilized to the maximum. And with that precision. See, that's very important. Today, you construct a building with so many things, cracks come, seepage comes, this comes, that comes. And the contractor himself tells you, see, 50 years chalega. Then after that, you have to break the building.
Yeah.
But these are like jigsaw puzzles, the temples that we see. See, they are nothing short of a marvel is what I feel.
What yuga are we looking at in Ramayan? Because that is also slightly hearsay.
There is no mention of the number of years or the year calculation within the Ramayana of Valmiki. But it is sure to have happened in Treta Yuga. Ramayanam is said to have happened in Treta Yuga.
How many years ago?
That's a very intriguing question. See, looking at the current day almanac, Panchangam, we say that, modern days we say 2024. Historians will say 2024 CE or AD. And 2024 years before that, we would have had BCE.
Correct.
That's one way of calculating. But as per Panchangam, we are 5,000 plus years of Kali Yuga has happened. So if 5,000 plus years of Kali Yuga has happened, before that must have been Dwapar Yuga. So when did Kali Yuga began? When Krishna went back to Vaikuntham. After his Karyam was over, the hunter hit that arrow and he went back to Vaikuntham. That is around 3101 or 3102 BCE. And presumably 35 or 34 years before that, roughly around 3136 BCE is when Mahabharata Yuddham happened. So around 30 plus years before Krishna's ascending to Vaikuntham, this happened. Mahabharata Yuddham. And in Mahabharata Yuddham, we have the 30th descendant of Rama participating.
Yeah.
So if you keep an average of 70 to 80 years as the lifespan of one king, 2000 years before that, around 5114 BCE is when some historians, some research scholars state, like Pushkar Bhatnagar, Jai Shri Saranathan, many people, they state around that period is when Rama's birth happened and eventually Ramayana happened. So for us, it is 7,000 years before. That is one version. But as per certain shlokas of the Puranas, they say that 4,32,000 years is Kali Yuga. Twice that, which is 8,64,000 years is Dwaparam. Thrice that is Treta, 4 times that is Krita. So Krita plus Treta plus Dwapara plus Kali is 4,32,000 years into 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, which is 10. So 10 into 4,32,000 years is 43,20,000 years is one Chaturyuga. And Vayu Purana states that Ramayanam happened in the 24th Chaturyuga. We are in Ashtavimshatitame, 28th Chaturyuga. So as per that calculation, it is 1 crore 76 lakh years, 1,000 years before Ramayana happened. The other version is, no, it didn't happen in 24th Chaturyuga. It happened only in this Chaturyuga. So we have to go by around 8 to 9 lakh years. A very realistic, relatable account which historians and research scholars state is 7,000 years back, around 5,000 BCE, is when Ramayana is said to have happened. Of course, there are a few other research scholars who state that it could have been much earlier. For example, one person states it happened after the Indus Valley civilization, between the 1400 to 1500 BCE. One another research person states it happened in 12,000 BCE. So there's 12,000 BCE, 1,500 BCE, 5,000 BCE, 8 lakh years and 1 crore 76 lakh years. So these are the things that I give. If you ask my opinion, I feel 7,000 years, which is 5,000 BCE ke aspas hua hoga.
I think there was one more facet where Ram and Ravan were best friends in the previous birth. And then it was said, or predicted rather, that in the following 12 births, Ram would kill Ravan. Is that true?
To the best of my knowledge, this is not found in our Itihasam, which is Ramayanam. Interestingly, Shloka, Ramayanam is also narrated by rishis through Vyasacharya and Mahabharatam. So there are 3 places within the Mahabharatam where Ramayanam is narrated. So Ramayanam is told independently by Valmiki. Later, the interesting facets and the storyline is re-narrated by Vyasacharya in Mahabharatam as well. And there is a Ramayanam which is presented in the 4th Amsha of Vishnu Puranam. There is Ramayanam which is told in the 9th Skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam. There is Ramayanam, parts of Ramayanam told in Varaha Puranam. There is one larger version in Padma Puranam. There is one version in Skandam. And there are some parts of it in Shiva, Linga, Kurma, Vayu Puranam and Brahmanda Puranam as well.
Okay.
With all these versions in the Itihasas and Puranas that I have studied or I have religiously respected and revered and understood, there is no version of this Rama and Ravana being friends in the previous Janma, because Rama is treated as Sakshat Narayana. He is treated as the Purnavataram of Narayana. So there is nothing called as, okay, there would be 12 births before and 12 births later. He chooses to be born as a result of his Ichhadinam. So this I have not heard and may not be corroborated with the authentic versions of the Ramayana.
What about Ram? What about these main characters? Because they've had a very, very turbulent life. You know, one often thinks about the karma that they could have accumulated in the past life and, the manifestation which we see in the present life. So what was Ram, Sita, Laxman's past life like?
For us, for Shloka, for Dushyanth, for people who are recording this, people who are watching this, we all have previous janmas. We all have previous births. We may have future births as well. But for Bhagavan, there is nothing called as a previous life. It is his avataram. See, Krishna tells this in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna. Hey Arjuna. Both of us have a similarity. Arjuna was like happy. Ara, kya similarity hai? We have had many lives in the past. Arjuna said, very nice. So both of us have a similarity, many past births. But Krishna says, wait, there is a difference. I remember all of them. You remember none. Then Arjuna asks, how? Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna. How? Krishna says, because those births that I took were not as a result of my accrued karma. Karma ke adheen mera janma nahi hua. Lekin tumhara janma karma ke adheen mein hua. You have performed karma, so you are born as Arjuna. If you have performed bad karma, you may be born as maybe Kamsa or Duryodhana or somebody. But for me, Arjuna, remember, I am born as a result of my ichha, my desire. I choose to be born as the son of Dasharatha and Kaushalya as Rama, I am born. Karma doesn't direct me. Why? Asks Arjuna. Because you are a Jivatma and the Paramatma. Paramatma is untainted or untouched by karma, whereas a Jivatma is. जीवात्मा का एक अकाउंट है, कर्मा अकाउंट. कर्म के अधीन पे ही पुण्य पाप होता है और उसकी के आधार पर जन्म होता है. बट फॉर मी इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट. आई चूज टू बी बॉर्न. इफ वी हैव टू लुक इनटू रामा's life, भगवान chose that I have to showcase a life filled with turmoil to a general public, stating that if you're born as a human, you will have to undergo the ordeal.
So, which is why he chose to suffer?
Exactly.
He didn't suffer, but he chose to suffer.
He chose to suffer because... Willingly. So, see, whenever we undergo problems in our life, our ancestors say, read Ramayana. Why? Because when you read that, you get convinced that people have also suffered in the past. So let me also take it lightly. The moment you start feeling, oh, I am the only one who's suffering, everybody is happy, that's not the way the Indian civilization has ever worked. You see Krishna was born to Devaki and Vasudeva. That very night he got separated from his parents. He went to the other place. What an ordeal it is. Later at the age of 10, he is told, this is not your father and mother. वो जेल में जो हैं, वो ही आपके बाप हैं. You're not N Krishna, Nanda Gopal's Krishna, you're V Krishna, Vasudeva's Krishna. So all this is to better our lives, is the opinion of various acharyas.
I think one individual said once that these enlightened beings carry a lot of karma with them. You know, in yoga we say that all these enlightened beings carry a lot of karma. Maybe that is the idea. Lastly, I want to ask you and wrap up this conversation with what do you think Ramayana is trying to convey, and why should one read the Ramayana? What have we to gain from it?
See, there are various things that you can gather from the Ramayana. There's no doubt. Whichever angle you look, you'll find information, you'll find jnanam. To me, as a primitive mortal, as a friend of you, as a friend of all the astikas who are viewing, the message would be, life is full of ups and downs. Anybody's life you take, right from the president, prime minister, vice president, member of parliament, MLA, councillor, to the person who works in our house, who is our help. Everybody you ask, you interview them, problems batao, they'll give you one list. It will be longer than the podcast. But life is not only about recognizing the problems that we face. It is also about how to get over them. Problems will not go the moment you say, like, rain, go away, problem, go away. Problem will not go away. You have to learn to live with the problem. That is life. And when you read Ramayanam, you will get that humility and that knowledge. When Rama has been told, first of all, you are going to become the king of Ayodhya, he would have been happy. That very next day he is told, go to the forest. Life is like that. Yeah. See, in a company, you may get a promotion this week. 2 weeks later, you'll be fired. See Rama. Pregnant. See, the woman always aspires, when I'm pregnant, my husband should be by my side, very supportive. Sita didn't get that. There are so many couples where the husband will be living abroad, he will not be able to come, the wife will be pregnant in India, the wife will be working elsewhere, the husband has to serve in India. Long distance relationship. What is this? There are occasions where in broken families, children won't even know who their father is. And Lava and Kusha, when they were singing Ramayanam in front of Rama, they didn't realize that they were singing about their own parents in front of Rama. See the irony. And in certain parts of your life, occasions in your life, you may have to work for others selflessly. Hanuman, was he related to Sita? Was he related to Rama? He went to a foreign country in the middle of the night, spotted her, gave her the ring, accepted the chudamani, came. What a service that one character did. Selflessly. You find volunteers today when we are all caught in floods and confused what to do. People go out in the streets and give food packets to people. They are all Hanumans. They are all selflessly serving. So Ramayanam is not some figment of somebody's imagination. It is history. And that history repeats itself even today. So that is the message that I feel. Learn from Ramayanam how to be and how not to be. And when you face problems, look at Ramayanam, read Ramayanam, you will get a solution for your problem.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dushyanth Sridhar ji. It's been such a pleasure, and thank you for inviting us to your beautiful home. I think the vibe of this place is so serene, it is so divine that it's just added so much charm to the conversation.
Thank you, Shloka, and please do read the Ramayana book that I've given. Whoever wishes to read my Ramayana book, which is in English, across ages, people will be able to understand and learn.
Yes, surely. Thank you. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
In case you'd like to be a part of our online and in-person yoga, diet and spiritual programs, you can join our WhatsApp group below, where we post all our upcoming programs and give free tips on health, diet and lifestyle.